How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Creeps magazine, number 29 for April 2021, and you get this really cool cover here. Let's see if I can get this focused right. Really cool mammoth cover here with this guy charging at the mammoth through the jungle. This is from the story Tear in Barzara, and have to work to keep my thumb where it is. He's wearing a loincloth that YouTube might find a little too revealing. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump in right in and take a look at this issue. And as you know, on the back of the cover, you get the Old Creeps Historic Horrors, which is another case of something. I'm going to have to keep my hand over this whole panel here because there's a summoning scene that YouTube wouldn't like, but this time Historic Horrors, they're doing ghostly spirits. So they've done some really obscure stuff in the past, but just ghosts this week, which, hey, you gotta cover something basic every now and then. Alright, now let's go ahead and take a look at the credits and the table of contents for number 29. We, as always, will begin with the Dear Old Creep. Then you get the story Hot Seat, the Meteor People, the Ash Tree, Werewolf, Tear in Barzara, which is the cover, the Creeps Fan Club, and the Headless Horrors. So 6 stories plus the mail page, plus the fan club page, and you get the little images off to the side, little teasers as to what the stories might be about. Let's go ahead and jump right into these stories. Now, before we get in, I want to say that I'm not going to do any major spoilers, and I'm only going to show you a little bit of each story, so don't worry about spoilers, but I do want to say my piece on each story and let you guys have a little bit of what these are about. First things first, there's the mail page talking about number 27. I really enjoyed the Creeps number 27 with its cover by the great Ken Kelly, so you get a little bit of a major, a mail page and a little article there as well. So that's what we have at first. And then we flip right into the first story after this ad for Vampirus Carmilla. First story is called The Hot Seat, and you get this cast of characters going to this execution. So you get the guy's girlfriend, you get the witness that helped send them to death, the judge that pronounced the death, and the warden of the prison. They send this guy to the electric chair, but something strange happens, and the electric chair actually catches fire and burns the guy to death as well. But in classic revenge story, the guy, of course, doesn't actually die, and he comes back as a really confused zombie-like creature looking for revenge. A really fun classic horror thing with a really good ending that I didn't see coming. I really did like that, and you get his little penitentiary uniform there, which reminds me a little bit of Wes Craven's Shocker, how that character was designed. But a really fun story. Executions are a really dark material to go to, so you can get some really creepy stories out of that. Think like the very first episode of Tales from the Crypt. Anyway, this next one's a really interesting one. The Meteor People. You get this house, and they're on another planet. Where is the planet? Gaia. And this planet is way far in the middle of nowhere, and they're about to go in their bunker for 2,145 hours while this meteor shower happens, which is like 100 days or something, like 1/3 of the year. Oh yeah, it's a long time. But anyway, they seem excited about it for some reason, and you find out that they're hoping a meteor lands on their property, and one does, and a little baby crawls out of the meteor. The baby crawls out, and they're excited to get an alien living with them, which is very odd, but they're excited that they got a little baby alien out of the meteor. They appear to know what's happening, and the baby grows up really quick to be this little black-eyed child. The aesthetics kind of remind me of Village of the Damned, although the plot is very different. But with this one, these people are really happy. A bunch of other people have alien kids too, and you're really wondering, okay, what's up? It's apparently something, a natural cycle of this planet, but these kids are growing up so fast, and what's going to happen with that? And it has a really good, creepy, dark twist at the end. You're like, oh, that's that's a good, dark, creepy ending there. A little bit comes out of nowhere, but then you see the situation there, and you're like, oh man, that's pretty bad. But anyway, moving on. This is actually kind of weird. This story actually has a prologue, so you don't actually see the old creep introduce a story till the next page, but it's in England during the witch trials in 1690, because a lot of people only ever think about Salem, but England quite famously had witch trials all their own. Flip it to the page after the prologue, and there's the dear old creep, and he's introducing the story of the ash tree, which was from M.R. James in 1904. So what is that, 116, 117 years old, this story? But basically, this guy sees a lady levitating, says, oh hey, there's a witch, and they hang 3 witches, but then this guy's body turns old, and he dies, and his body turns like, all rotten and stuff, and they go, okay, something's up, and then it goes to the next 2 generations of this guy. So the story moves pretty briskly, and there is lots of these blocks of text, but it is really interesting. It's a very good classic tale, and you get to the end with a pretty horrifying thing. Some creature elements to it, as well as the further more of the witch, but lots of text, and it does move pretty fast through the story. It has to do the whole thing in like 7 pages, but it is a good classic creepy story. And like I said before, I love that every issue they take the time to give us a classic horror story. And of course there's a guy wearing a mask, even though it's not 2020. But anyway, a good classic witches story. You hang them from the ash tree, and there's lore to the type of tree as well. Overall, really fun and creepy story, although it does move fast because they have to pack a lot into what they're doing. Up next, you get this story called Werewolf, where as in a question, and there's the creep pointing his finger at you. You get this werewolf has killed this person, cut his throat with its teeth, and then these people show up with some guns, and then the one guy's like, it's no use, we don't have any silver bullets, and the werewolf runs away, so they don't get him. And the next day at the bar, this one guy shows up, flipping the page. Yeah, the next day at the bar, this guy shows up, and he says he's a professional werewolf hunter, and he shows him his briefcase there, which is all the silver bullets he could ever need. Like, this town isn't prepared enough. They don't have their silver bullets ready, and they really need to kill this werewolf tonight. Eventually you find out a little bit more about this guy, and even though what he's up to is revealed relatively quickly, I'll save that surprise for you when you read the story. But a cool thing, a bit of a twist on the werewolf thing, a little a little Scooby-Doo-ish, but I won't say exactly what, although some people may figure it out just by that. But it's a twist that's revealed really early, and then you're like, okay, what are these guys going to do? And then, of course, it ends in a classic The Creeps way with a fun, bloody ending. Up next, we're actually moving through this pretty fast, is the cover story, Terror in Bar Zara, with this elephant charging at our heroes. And I won't show you guys too terribly much art from this. There's a lot of costuming that YouTube probably wouldn't like. The main girl is in a bikini, which almost constantly shows her butt crack, and even when she's wearing more clothes, they're all very, very tight. And I just think YouTube would get mad at me, even though I think it's silly that YouTube would get mad. They probably would. But anyway, this story, you get this reporter lady. She is trying to figure out, she heard a rumor that they're making Werebeast for the army. She goes to the island where she suspects this is happening, and her plane crashes, where she meets this Tarzan-like figure. They live in the jungle, and they start to get along, even though there's wild animals in danger everywhere. And she eventually finds this dome that the Tarzan-like guy doesn't like. It's a really fun, interesting story, and it's cool to, it's still the Creeps, and it has a horror element, but to do something completely different than what the Creeps normally does, and to do it just, one story every now and then, to go into some of these subgenres that we don't often see. It really feels like a classic. They even reference Burroughs once in here, but it really does feel like a classic story, and even though it's not super horror based, it really does have the feel of classic comics and classic novels, so it still fits in the line with the Creeps. So it's really fun, and it's something different, and I'd still say keep the book mainly the way it is, but yeah, once an issue, go ahead and tell a story that's a little different, a little off kilter, and not exactly the same thing. Plus, there is a fun twist at the end. The Creeps fan club, we get a picture of the old Creep there, which is really nice. One of the fans did that. And then the story, The Strange Death of Mr. Dearden, which is a written story sent in by one of their members, and it's an atypical confession to a murder. And you get this story. This woman says she's being abused by this guy, locked in a closet often with other girls, and only taken out sometimes. And there's a twist with how this story is told, and I'm kind of curious, if you read the issue, how long did it take you to guess the twist? Did it take all the way to the end, or did you guess it really quickly? I figured it out about halfway through, but it's a fun and interesting story, a really weird and bizarre idea, and the fact that it's not spelled out outright until the very end. It's one of those puzzles, almost like a riddle story that keeps you guessing, and it's a funny, bizarre, strange concept when you get to what the reveal is. But I feel that, thinking it's going to be this one thing and then finding out it's something else, it really makes it memorable, although weird, but pretty memorable. Up next, the very last story, went through this really, really quick. A good issue, you read it fast, but somewhere in California, and you get this detective who has found this woman with no head. There's been a series of murders where it's a woman who seemed to be homeless woman wind up getting killed. They get their heads cut off, and they're left with no blood in them. And he has to figure out what's going on. And this is the Headless Horrors with the Creep as a detective there. Kind of a cool, old-timey noir style story. This is very sharp contrast blacks and whites with no real grayscale in between to kind of amp up that contrast. But the detective's trying to figure out what's going on, and there's a few weird things with these bodies later on that turn up. But a very cool, creepy story. They're trying to catch the serial killer that they call the Horseman, because everybody winds up headless in this one. But a cool cop story with a fun, traditional The Creeps ending. You know, where the creeps, they always go crazy in the endings, and I do really like this, how it stays film noir, and then it's like, oh yeah, we're a horror book, you know. a fun thing to pop up. But anyway, this issue of The Creeps, like all the previous ones I've read, has been really good. 6 stories in there, and I really did enjoy all of them, you know. You get the classic horror, you get something a little different and off-brand, and I really did like that's the electric chair one. That's really cool, almost classic EC comic style zombie. Reminds me a little bit of the Tar Man with those big eyes, and then really just a ton of other stories. And oh yeah, that one, the Meteor People, that one I really did dig as well. So yeah, these are all really, really good. Oh, I pointed at this one's the Meteor People one. But anyway, all really, really good stories and some pretty good stuff in this issue. I'd recommend it, as always, if you like anthology horror, if you like reading black and white gritty comics, you'll probably like The Creeps, and I'd recommend picking an issue up and checking it out. They all seem to be pretty good. Next month will be number 30, so 10 issue. I can't wait for that. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You're really helping my channel out. I do a comic about every week on here, sometimes 2. And if you want to see more comics, I'll put a relevant playlist, should be the comic playlist, on the bottom, where you can find a few more issues of The Creeps that I've reviewed. I think I've done at least 3 already, so if you want more Creeps reviews, they'll be in the comic playlist. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Comics playlist, relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day.